There's several books I want to share with you today. The first is Pancakes for Breakfast. The second one is Those Darn Squirrels. The third is Red, a Crayon story. The fourth is Clark the Shark, Too Many Treats. And the fifth is Stellaluna. I've got links to all of these books below. Check them out, pick them up. And I've included a link for my book, as usual, as well, if you feel like taking a look at that. But let's get started. Pancakes for Breakfast is a book by Tomie dePaola, or dePaola, dePaola. Don't know who illustrated it. Wasn't able to figure that one out. Perhaps him, perhaps not. But the illustrations are pretty important in this one because it is not a book that you read. There's no dialogue, there's no narration or anything like that. There is some writing, but it is integrated into the illustrations. There's a recipe for pancakes, which I read, and based on my knowledge, actually is a recipe for pancakes. The amounts, as well as the description of how to make the pancakes. Maybe I'll try that. But yeah, so no words other than that. And then there's some art on the wall at the end that has some words on it. So the illustrations tell the story. And what's cool, I think, about it is there's enough information there that, so it's simple but expressive illustrations that present you with plenty to talk about with your child, for them to look at it and interpret, and you can piece together the story together. It's a simple story. The drawings have plenty of detail, but not so much that it sort of overwhelms or blinds you to, right? It's not distracting from the central activities of what the main character is doing. So I think it's could be fun to go through with a child, and right, because children are figuring out what's happening around them by observation, and this book aligns with that way of seeing the world. So something fun to do with your children. And then another fun thing about the illustrations is that they present images of rural life from decades ago, and that's kind of cool. It's like a little look into the past. And there are some themes that I think connect with all of us on a very basic level. Well, talk about the plot a little bit, right? If you can't, you can probably guess the goal for this book is to have pancakes for breakfast. And there are a lot of obstacles to achieving that vision for the morning. And we all experience ideas about what we want to have happen in our day, and then things get in the way, right? So you're seeing how I'm connecting this to all these other parts of life. So a good setup for a story, just in terms of, it's a good idea, right? We want something to happen. This character wants to do something. Pancakes for breakfast. What gets in the way? Things do get in the way. For instance, no eggs. So then she's got to go out and get eggs from the coop, et cetera, right? And there's other things. So the themes that come out are, kind of this not giving up. It's themes of, thinking through a problem and solving it for yourself, overcoming things, and finding a way to make them happen to the best of your abilities. And I think a form of resilience is available. A theme of resilience is available to talk about with your child, or to hearken back to this story when they are in times of need later on in life. And thinking more deeply, and being challenged by things at school, perhaps, or in later learning. Talking about resilience and overcoming problems and all that. So some good themes, good pictures, and yeah, I think a lot there to enjoy reading with, or not reading, as it were, with your child. Those Darn Squirrels is written by Adam Rubin and is illustrated by Daniel Salmieri. The language it's not rhyming, but it has a playful quality. It's playful with sounds. Adam Rubin has written these fanciful names for birds. So that's one thing, right? You do things with your mouth that are fun, right? There's some alliteration. There's some poetic activity that is playful and fun. And another thing that I think is good in certain genres of children's books is exclamations. Exclamations, especially for children who aren't exactly reading yet, exclamations are like a chorus or a refrain that you return to. And over time, because of you read a book more than once, the children can start to predict when that's coming. You're reading through, and then right as they're looking at the words, they know that fun exclamation is coming up, and then they can start to put pieces together and participate. And if they're not putting the pieces together yet, they get to participate still in these exclamations that are, they're, when you think of reading, you don't think of loud, playful, all that kind of stuff, right? Sitting quietly. No, these are these moments in children's books where children get to be full and loud, and it's an exclamation. And there's fun ones in this story. Yeah, the playful language throughout, and those exclamations. The illustrations. It's kind of a muted color palette, but I think that sort of serves to make this setting feel more real, or feel stylized, unique, a place of its own that you can imagine existing. And I think the muted colors are a good sort of canvas. Or wait, no, I shouldn't say the colors of the canvas. But in the drawings, the actual lines and the characters that are created, the birds and the squirrels and the guy, there's movement and life in the lines and in the characters, right? You see me I'm making these, they're swooping, and the guy's neck is long, and he's, it's arced, and these characters are in motion, and I think having that muted color palette is great for that, because the lines are already doing a lot to engage the mind and the imagination. And then there's plenty of detail. There are these contraptions and things that the guy builds. So yeah, fun illustrations. I mean, the plot is in some ways straightforward, as you might hope for or expect from a children's book. The guy he loves birds, and he wants the birds to stay. But as you know, birds don't stay all year round. And so he does all these things to try and make this thing that he wants to have happen. Kind of like pancakes for breakfast. But his ingenuity is intriguing. I think that's going to connect with some kids. I think that the frustration that he experiences is also going to connect with some kids. And then I think what comes out of those comes out of this arc that he's on are some of these themes of innovation and again, not giving up. But then innovation, this practical engineering innovation to reach, to solve a problem, but a problem that can't be solved because, the pattern of birds' lives and the pattern of seasons is a thing that exists outside of our control. And so innovation in the pursuit of something that, preserving some type of joy, but then also being open to the changes that come with the rhythms of life, right? As represented by the seasons and the movement of the birds and things like that. And I think that's a valuable theme, is being open to the changes that come with the rhythms of life, right? Right at this moment, Christmas has ended, and Christmas is a highly charged time for a lot of people, positive, negative, whatever. It's emotionally charged. It's like the drama of family and of life is heightened during that time. And being able to appreciate, accept, change the things that are in our control throughout each of the seasons, throughout the rhythms of life, is a valuable thing to recognize and possibly talk with your children about. I think of the challenges that kids have with birthday parties and being at someone else's birthday parties, or right. The rhythm of the season is that their friend is experiencing gifts and experiencing celebration and appreciation. And the season for appreciating them, celebrating them will come. I think there's a lot of places. I think this comes up in our lives and will come up in their lives plenty. So nice little book that addresses some of those themes. Red, A Crayon Story, is a book by Michael Hale, and it's illustrated by him as well. Written and illustrated by Michael Hale. It's not a rhyming book. Its sentences are simple. It's mostly dialogue, which I think is important for kids who haven't yet learned to read, or who are really just starting to read, or just started to read themselves, like sitting with you and reading with you, because what they've heard in their life is dialogue, right? And so that dialogue, thanks to Michael's writing, I think, comes in predictable, commonly formulated sentences. And so I think accessible for children who are learning to read in that way. And they're humorous. They're also things that maybe children have heard before, or have heard formulations of sentences like these before in their lives. And I think the language choices for each crayon has a life of its own that you might enjoy talking with your children about, because who the crayons are comes through the things that they say. So what will we say? Indirect characterization. The illustrations are bold, bright colors, so captivating to the eye. There's also, from an aesthetic perspective, some mixing of colors to make other colors, so you can talk about that with your children. The illustrations they bring life to the internal struggles of the character. So this crayon goes through a lot, and over time, becomes less and less easy to hide. And so you have, the simplicity of the illustrations, I think, reinforces the persistent and seemingly insurmountable challenge that underlies what underlies the story of this character and the story of many of our lives. So that being said, not the most clear sentence, but I'll let you in on a little bit of what I'm talking about. So, right, the plot is lays out Red is trying to do something that he just can't do. It is seemingly impossible. Keeps trying to do it. People encourage him to do it. They instruct him to do it. They challenge him to do it. All those things, right? But he can't. He can't do it. They try to help him do it, but he can't do it. Until somebody asks him to do something that he actually can do. But by this time, he doesn't think he can do it. And it turns out that he can, and it opens up a whole world of things for him to do. And to create. So the themes that start to develop out of this plot and the simple, right, using colors, I think is a genius. The themes that come out of this take shape around who you are and who you could become. Can take time, right, to discover, to recognize, to accept, and it may be different than what other people expect or even what you expect of yourself. I think, so sit with that for a second. I also like that it is through someone else's invitation that Red discovers again, or discovers what they can do. That there's and the reason I like that, I think part of life is being challenged by and believed in by other people. And people it's one of the wonderful ways that we can have an influence on each other. It helping, let's say, challenging someone to do something new that you believe that they can do, or that you think they would love to do, and to have someone invite you to do the same. Those result in some beautiful moments in life. And so I liked that about how he discovered, or how Red discovered what he could do. Clark the Shark is a book by Bruce Hale, and it's illustrated by Guy Francis. And I do like sharks, so it's hard not to just like this immediately. I love his striped shirt. I just feel like Clark the Shark would wear this outfit. And that's what a lot of these illustrations feel like to me. It's like, yeah, of course. Just makes sense. The all of the elements of the, even being in a kitchen, right? There's a scene in the kitchen because that's where the treats get made. It just works. These characters in their space and in their relationship to each other. So well laid out and engaging, I think. And thoughtful about what the other creatures around are like, and imagining a world for this shark to live in. Yeah, this Clark is a student at a school, which I love the use of schools with fish because, right, we call groups of fish are called a school of fish. There is some alliteration, some rhyme, and it's used occasionally, and it is used in dialogue, actually. So that's fun. And you can see, I think, in the writing, there's the right amount of disconnect between somebody who's being enthusiastic about something, like I am now, and the people that are around them, listening to them, and that playful disconnect between people who are relationally connected and all that. So that's kind of a fun thing. And then in the end, they kind of line up when Clark, who's enthusiastic about these snacks, gets to share them with his school friends. So they get it. They get why he's so excited. So the language, it's straightforward, but it's playful, and the sentences are a little bit longer, but again, there's plenty of dialogue, so stuff there for kids who are reading on their own or reading to you. There is a clear message about snacking and about sharing. That theme runs through it, and I like that it's a story that involves someone making a mistake, the main character making a mistake, and then receiving feedback on that mistake, and then taking action together, so to amend that mistake, and then the character shares what they learned with others. We're not always in a position to learn everything on our own, and so when we do learn something, we can share what we've learned, hopefully to the betterment of others' lives, and so that they can avoid similar mistakes. Or if they do make the mistake and they don't have someone around to give them the feedback and then work on ameliorating the mistake together, maybe they'll have what we've shared with them, or what this book has shared with them in this case, or whatever. Maybe the things that we share with each other, these lessons that we learn, will come back and be able to stand in for that compassionate guiding figure that may be missing from other people's lives, or from your life, as the case may be. Stellaluna is a book by Janell Cannon, and it doesn't rhyme, but the language is, I think, really, really fun. From if you were reading this along with your child who can already read, there's some vocab and things like that in this book that will stretch a child who has the ability to read, but maybe you want to push them a little bit more to expand their vocabulary. The language also has especially vivid imagery associated with it that you can bring to life in your movements. That you can kind of act out as you say it, and your children can do it too. So you can kind of bring it to life physically and in your storytelling. Previously, in one of my previous reviews, I talked about these words like crunch and munch and things like that bring eating to life. So you can say, oh yeah, I was with a tiger like me. So you can crunch and munch and so then right, you're all making faces like a tiger, crunch and munch, right? There are things like that in this book, wrapping up. It's about a bat and about birds and things. So there's parts where they're wrapping each other up in their wings. So there's this language that you can bring lends itself very easily, very conveniently to more expressive storytelling. And so if that's something that you're not that comfortable with as a parent, yeah, this is a good book because it makes it easy. You'll pick up on it on those opportunities to do that with your voice and with your body and all that kind of stuff to bring the story to life. Illustrations are good. They feel nighttimey and they feel the faces are expressive when they need to be expressive and support the story. And I think I got sucked in by the language and its ability to tell such a vivid and tangible to tell the story in a vivid and tangible way. So the themes and the underlying kind of messages of the book, I think, are relevant and are told and shared without preaching. These are things that likely your children will put together and as you tell the story. And not all things are resolved at the end, but appropriately so, right? And friendship across differences, an expansion of what family means, broader than what it has meant in the past. So good messages and some really good phrasing to kind of sharpen them up. But I'll let you discover that when you read Stellaluna. I hope you enjoyed these reviews and I encourage you to support the authors and illustrators and click the links below to pick up their work and find some of the other stuff that they've done as well. And I've also included a link for my own book if you are interested in learning more about the adventures of Inspector Badger. Thanks.